Hey everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to walk you through the steps to getting your first animated project off the ground. Now by the end of this tutorial you'll be able to have an animated scene similar to the one you see on the screen right here with our dancing dude just dancing on the beach. And we're going to be importing our own props, creating a scene, and animating characters as well. Now let's take a look at the Project tab over here in the Content Manager. Under the Project tab in the Demo folder, you'll find a number of different demo projects that you can apply to your stage, whether it be for facial animation, spline templates, all sorts of other fun stuff that you can explore on your own time, reusing animated patterns and everything like that. The one we're going to talk about in this tutorial is our animated 2D scene. So I'm going to apply that to the scene, our stage right here. And if I play back, you'll be able to see some nice smooth camera animation, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and some animated props and all sorts of other cool stuff. So we're going to be recreating something similar to this scene that you see right here, and I'm going to show you how to get that stuff all organized momentarily. Alright, so let's stop that and go ahead and start a new project here. Now, all the stuff that you saw in that scene you can actually find in the Props tab over here under the G3 Beach scene. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create a background for our scene. You can recall we had a nice blue sky, so we have a blue sky in here, way down at the bottom. Just double click and apply that to our scene. Alright, so now we have a nice blue sky. If I hold Alt and both mouse buttons, I can zoom out, just like this, and you can see this is our sky prop right here. We can move it around if we want, but I'm not going to do that right now. What I want to do next is apply some sand to our scene. So I'm going to go to find my sand. There's a sand beach here. It just looks like a beige rectangle. Now, if I have my sky selected and I double click the sand beach, what's going to happen is that sand beach is going to replace the sky because we already had it selected. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you click off your sky so nothing is selected, and then you can double click your sand beach and apply that just like this. Alright, and then we can position it to wherever we want. Now keep in mind that anything that is outside of this blue box, this blue rectangle on your screen right here, is not going to be rendered in your final render. Okay, so we're only focusing on what's within this blue rectangle. So everything else, like the edges over there, we don't have to worry too much about that. Alright, let's bring our sand down a little bit, maybe to a position like here. And you can also adjust these values over here. If you want it to be completely centered, you're going to turn a value of 0 on the x-axis. You can also use these buttons here to move it down like very slightly up and down. You can also use your arrow keys to move up and down. I like to use the arrow keys to get, refined positioning. And there's also the z-axis here. We'll talk about that momentarily. And the scale for width and height and rotate. We're going to talk about those in a moment here again. But first of all, I'm going to apply the rest of the stuff to my background here. So we have our nice beach. Let's go take a look at finding the ocean here. So we have an ocean that's somewhere here. Oh, sea, I guess. Okay, so just double click and apply that to our scene. And we can also click and drag it onto our scene as well, as long as we don't click and drag it onto something. Click and drag it up here to an empty spot. That's why I always like to have a little empty space on the top of my scene there. And then we'll place this right about there. Okay, we can use the up and down arrows to refine the positioning. Now, if I wanted to scale this sea uniformly, I can just click on the bottom left there, or bottom right there, and scale it this way. Or I can also just scale it like wider like this, okay? Let's try a value of maybe like 150, just a nice even 150 and 120 on the height. Alright, and then we can actually stretch it a little bit further on the width. Let's try something like 180. Okay, and then we'll just kind of position it. I'm going to move it right over here. So we'll have a little bit of beach showing on the side there. This one's going to be off the screen. Okay, so we have this nice looking beach there. And let's add some sea reflection to this beach. So the sea reflection, we can just double click and apply that. And we'll bring it down right here. And let's scale that up to 180 on the width again to match with the ocean that we currently have. We can do 120 on the height. There we go. Alright, maybe a little bit less on the width there. Let's try 150. Okay, there we go. We'll bring it up just like this. Alright, and I think that should be good right there. Alright, so we have this reflection. Now let's talk about the mountains in the background. So we're going to have a couple of mountains here. I'm going to just click and drag this mountain 01 and place it over here. And let's just kind of scale it manually and place it off the screen just somewhere like this. Okay, and then I'm going to use this mountain over here. I'm also going to apply that to an empty spot. And we're going to place this mountain over here, scale it up a little bit, and kind of move it a little bit further back on our scene. Okay, it's an up and down arrow. Now, I want one of these mountains to appear as if it's kind of a little bit further off in the distance. So to do that, I can actually fade it out a little bit using the opacity up here. So if I select the opacity, I can move that opacity down to like, a value of, 60 or whatever. Maybe 57 will do. And so now it kind of looks like there's fog in front of it. It looks like it's further off in the distance. So a neat little trick that you can use to kind of make things appear that they're further off, particularly for backgrounds. All right, let's apply a couple of clouds here as well. So I'm going to select cloud 1, and we're going to move this. And you can see this is actually in front of our mountain, so we're going to have to adjust that. I'm going to make it a little bit larger as well. And we're going to move it down on the z-axis by clicking this button on the bottom there. Okay, and you can see it just goes right behind the actual sky. Now this is a problem. Let's apply our fourth cloud here first, and I'll talk about the 3D view momentarily here. So let's apply this cloud 4, and we'll scale that up a little bit there as well. Do something like that. Place it over here. Now, we want to move that back behind the mountain, but it's also going behind the sky. Now this is where your 3D view comes in handy. What you want to do is open up your 3D view by clicking this button up here, and we can zoom out and take a look at the positioning. If I hold my right mouse button and the Alt key, I can rotate around like this, and you can see the positioning of all the items in my scene. Now I'm going to take the sky here, select the sky, and kind of move it back a little bit on the z-axis. And then what we can do is we can take those clouds and we can move them behind the mountains, yet they're still in front of the sky, which is exactly what we want, okay? So then we have a situation like this, and you can move the sky further back if you want. It doesn't really matter. You can also control click to select two items at once, like both these clouds, and then have something like this. All right, and you can go out of 3D view and take a look at our scene, and this is what we're going to have basically right here, okay? So let's go ahead and apply a couple more things. Just a couple of boats to our scene here. So I'm going to find there's a couple of boats here, a sailboat. I'll click and drag that up here. All right, I'm going to just move it down to our ocean, or sea rather, and kind of place it over here. It looks more like a lake actually, but we'll place it over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy and apply another boat a little bit later on. I'm going to show you how to duplicate stuff really quickly. But we're going to animate it first, okay? Now what we want to do at this point here is I'm going to show you how you can link props all together to bring them in at the same time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a scene with an umbrella, a parasol rather. So we'll click and drag this umbrella to our empty spot here. Let's find a table. I'm going to click and drag that in as well. And I'm going to find a chair. Where's our deck chair? There it is. Okay, so we have all this stuff put together right there. We can throw a cocktail drink on top of that table. Let's zoom in a little bit here so we can kind of see a little bit better. There we go. We want to make sure that's in front of the table. And again, you can take a look on the 3D view here with the stuff down here to the side. You can place each item in a different position. I want the chair to be a little bit further ahead of everything there. And then I can select the table, control select the cocktail, bring that a little bit further back, maybe behind the umbrella. Okay, there we go. Looks good to me. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these all together into the scene together. So let's go ahead and just kind of place that table. I think it's maybe need to expand it a little bit. So you see if I have both items selected, they're going to scale together, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually I'm going to link everything together to this cocktail so we can move them all at the same time. So I'm going to select my parasol here, control select my chair, control select the table, and then I'm going to select this link button right here, and I'm going to link them all to my cocktail. And then when I move my cocktail now, they're all going to move together, which is pretty cool and a lot more convenient when you're placing things into your scene. All right, so let's just bring it all up here, and you can see, unfortunately, the cocktail appears like it's behind the sand, so I'll bring it a little bit forward. There we go. And I think that should be fine, that positioning right there. Now I'm going to also bring a couple other things in the foreground. I'm going to bring a leaves right here, some palm leaves, whatever they are. We'll place those in the foreground and kind of scale them up a little bit. I'm going to place them about right here. We don't want them to be in our scene. This is going to be our scene right here. So kind of maybe scale them up a little bit, just like this. You don't actually have to scale them up if you bring them forward on the z-axis, but we'll talk about that in a moment. I'm going to take my palm tree as well. There's a palm tree that I need to bring in here. Not these palm trees, this palm tree. So I'm going to click and drag it to an empty spot over here, and you can see it's currently behind our little setup there. So we need to bring it further ahead on the z-axis there. We'll place it somewhere maybe over here in our scene. And we need to bring it a little bit further up there. And make sure it's not in front of our boat. Maybe we can just move the boat a little bit further over here. There we go. That works fine. Okay. And then we'll have our palm tree right here. Now let's take another look at the 3D view. And you can see that in the 3D view, our palm tree is in the foreground, which is exactly where we want it. Let's take our leaves here and bring those a little bit further up in the foreground as well. Maybe the palm tree is a little bit too far up. Maybe to about this level right here. And I think that should be okay. Alright, so maybe a little bit further back. Tiny bit further back. There we go. Alright, we're going to work with that. So let's go to our 3D, exit our 3D view here. And let's put a little sand pile in front of our tree there. So sand pile. And we're going to make it a little bit larger. Bring it forward on the Z-axis until it's in front of our tree. There we go. And that looks a bit more natural. Okay, so what we're going to have, we're going to use this for our scene right here. Alright, I'm going to just make this a little bit further over here to the side. Good. Okay, so this is our scene right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about animating these props and modifying them slightly as well. So each one of these props is an animatable prop. If you see the word Annie in the top left of the icon, like you do these ones here, you can animate those props. So this leaves, for example, I can right click it and go to the action menu and I can select leaves loop 1. And then we're going to have some, leaves waving in the wind just like that. Now if I press F3 and go into my timeline, open up my motion track here, and hold Alt and scroll my mouse button to zoom out here, you can see it leaves a number of different loops here. And what I'm going to just do is delete all these. And we're going to have this one leaves clip right here. And we want to make sure that we have our loop selected, and then just click and drag it for the duration of the project. What's going to happen now is it's going to just be, flapping back and forth in the wind. We can do the same thing for the palm tree at frame 1, action menu, and palm loop. Okay? So we have a nice animated palm tree right there. And let's open up the motion track for that palm. And if we press delete all these loops here, we'll have our original clip, and we'll click and drag that for the duration of our project as well. Okay? So we have something like this. And we're just going to do the same thing for all the other stuff, like the reflection here. Let's actually close these all down. And if we use object related track here, it'll automatically appear, whatever we select will automatically appear in the timeline here. So see reflection, let's just right click that, action menu, see reflection loop. Okay, same thing, let's just click and drag that for the duration. There you go. And the ocean right here, same thing, right click it, or the sea rather, action menu, and sea loop. You can see our sea will come up just like this, the motion track. Oops, we applied that at the wrong frame. We click and drag it to the beginning there, just like that. Alright, there we go. Alright, now let's do the clouds as well. The clouds are also animatable. Now this cloud 4, I'm going to right click it, action menu, and cloud loop. This one's actually going to move. You can see it's moving rather fast. If we don't want it to move that fast, what I can do instead of looping it, so let's just delete this original one. We'll go back to frame 1 there and loop it again here. There we go. What I'm going to do is, instead of looping it, right here, I'm going to toggle speed. Okay? For speed, I'm going to just stretch it out a little bit further, maybe to about 700. And now you can see it'll move a lot slower. That's kind of more what we're looking for. We don't want it to move too quickly because it's a cloud after all. We're not flying through the clouds; they're off in the distance. So we want it to be a little bit slower, and then we can, let's just stretch it for the entire duration, pretty much. Good enough. All right, let's do the same thing for the other cloud here. Right click, action menu, cloud loop. Okay, and motion. We need to bring that back to frame 1, and this one will stretch it out a little bit as well, just like that, and then loop it a few times. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's barely noticeable, but it's kind of behind the palm tree, but that'll work for us. Now another thing I wanted to talk about is how to animate and customize the props in your scene. So we're going to talk a little bit about this sailboat. Let's bring a sailboat a little bit over here. And I'm going to right click on the sailboat, same thing, action menu, sailboat loop. You can see it'll kind of just float up and down like that. Again, you can just delete all these loop nonsense here and just click and drag to loop this as many times as we want. So now we have an animated boat that's kind of bobbing up and down there. Now, if I hold Control and I click and drag, you can also use this duplicate tool up here, but I prefer to use Control and click and drag to create a duplicate of this item that we can place over here. We can make it a little bit smaller so it seems like it's off in the distance or something over here. Alright, and let's bring this one a little bit further over here, maybe a little bit further to shore. And this one seems like it's further away, right about here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is with this selected, it actually transferred all the animation as well. So now we have two identical animated objects just like this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the render style editor to change the hue of our boat here. We'll change it to like a green color, maybe something like that. Right now it looks different. We can also flip it by using this flip tool right here, and flip it to the other direction. There we go. Maybe place it a little bit closer to its big brother over there. All right, and then we have a couple animated boats just like this. Okay, cool. So that's how you can really customize using the render style editor. Just a really quick example there. Now let's bring in the star of our show, our character. So I'm going to go over here to Actor. Under Character G3 Human, we have our dude with the no shirt on. So let's just bring him into our scene. We can place him over here. And I'm going to bring him a little bit further up in the Z-axis, obviously. So we'll bring him ahead of the parasol, but behind the chair. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have this dude walk out to kind of over here by the palm trees. So we can go to the Animation tab right here. And you can also go to the right click and select Action Menu and select a lot of actions from here. But I'm going to show you how to apply them from the Content Manager as well. So we'll go over here to Motion and G3 Human, Elastic Folks Side Facing. Okay, and we're going to go to Move. And you can see the S in the top left stands for Side Facing. So this is a side facing character. More like a 45-degree angle, but let's use the walk, okay? So we're going to use this walk 1, S means start, the walk start, and the walk L means loop, okay? So let's apply loop maybe 3 times, and then we'll have a walk end, okay? So if I go to the motion track with my character, let's hold Alt and scroll our mouse button up to zoom in. You can see I applied those various motion clips just like this. All right, so when our character starts walking, which is about right here, let's go ahead and at the end of his walk, right here, when he starts, takes his last step, I'm going to move him. We're going to create a transform and move him over here, kind of behind the tree a little bit. And then if we play back, you can see he'll just kind of walk behind the tree and stop over here. Cool. All right, so now what I want to do is give him make him say like a hi animation. So I'll right click, select Action Menu, and there is a hi right here. Hi, okay, his hand's behind the palm tree, but you can tell he said hi. And then after he says hi, we're going to give him a dance. So he's going to randomly dance here. So I'm going to right click, Action Menu, and there's a dance somewhere here. Where is my dance? There we go, Dance 01. All right, and he does his whole little dance number right there. We don't need to watch the entire thing right now. Let's just go back to here. Now, if you want to, change the position that he ends at, you can see when we moved our character, we have these little dots that appear and a green line in between them. That indicates where the character is moving to. If you want to change the transform position, you can simply just click and drag that dot a little bit further on. It'll change the position where he ends up, okay? So now he'll be right behind the palm tree, do his dance just like this. Okay, right, so he's doing his little dance under the tree. So that's how you can really quickly apply some body animation to your character. Let's talk a little bit about facial animation as well. So when he's saying hi, I'm actually going to use my own voice. We're going to click and drag to over here, this frame 87 right now, and we're going to add a script. Okay, so you can create a script, you can record your own voice, you can use text-to-speech WAV files or a CrazyTalk script. I'm going to record my own voice. We're going to say something like, hey everyone, watch this dance. Okay, so let's go ahead and record that. And you can just press the record button here. Hey everyone, check out this dance. And then press stop. And you can play it back if you want, but I'm just going to press OK. Hey everyone, check out this dance. All right, and then he'll continue on with his dance and everything like that. Now, when he's dancing, we can also animate his face to kind of look a little bit happier. Okay, we did the automatic lip syncing right there. So after he's finished talking, we're going to use let's go to a position maybe over here. And let's take a look at animating his face using the Facial Puppet tool. All right, this is a really quick and easy tool to use. You can just find it over there, Facial Puppet. And you can find a facial animation profile. In this case, we're going to use this guy and a happy expression. You can see if we press space to preview, there's our happy expression, just like this. Okay, we can also use shocked. All right, if his dance is shocking or if he's angry dancing, it's his angry expression there as well. Okay, but we're going to use the happy expression because he seems, happy when he's dancing. So once you're ready to record, you can just go ahead and press record. And you can see, you can just around like that and hey, finished. Okay, so that created a quick facial animation for us. And if I just scroll back, you can see there's our facial animation. He's having a fun time dancing and looking around. Did anyone see me? Yes. All right, there we go. So that's a quick summary of some of the ways you can animate the body and the face. Now, we have other tutorials that go into a lot more detail on this. The purpose of this tutorial is just to kind of really quickly create an animated scene and show you kind of a lot of the functions of CrazyTalk along the way. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is animating the camera. So actually, let's go back into our timeline by pressing F3 again, and we're going to go over here to the project tracks, and there's a camera track in the projects. Now, if we want to animate our camera, we need to make sure we go up here to camera record mode. Okay, now in camera record mode, you can see that if we move back and forth, we have a sort of a 3D effect. So the palm tree is in the foreground here, and those boats are in the background. Take a look at how when we move these, we get the position changes. And that's because we have, it's kind of like a three-dimensional feel, right? We have the palm tree in the background, or in the foreground rather, and all that stuff in the background. So that's when you place things on the 3D plane, that's the kind of effect you get. Now, if you want to emphasize that even further, you can go to Edit and Project Settings, or Control-Shift-P, and you can change your lens perspective to something even smaller. Let's try something like 35, like the minimum amount. This is going to make it so that everything in your scene seems really, really far apart on the Z-axis. And if I press OK, you'll be able to see the result right here. Okay, so very, very strong effect, much stronger than we had before. Okay, and you can see the foreground. This is, in extreme examples, if you want some really extreme 3D effect, you can use something like this. However, whoops, let's zoom in a little bit, and you can see on this, even on this character, you can see his face goes from side to side because of the change in perspective. That's for extreme examples. What I'd recommend doing is, going to project settings and just changing it to something like a little bit more reasonable, like maybe around 113. That'll be fine. Okay, we'll use this. We still get that, 3D parallax effect, but it's not as pronounced. Okay, so let's start over here with our character, because our character is on the screen. He's the focus of our attention right here. Maybe we can zoom out a little bit, just like to about here. So we have that plant in the foreground there. I can maybe even move it a little bit further over here, because the only stuff that's going to be recorded is in the red frame here. So let's go ahead and play this back. And we want to kind of follow our character over here. So I'm going to pause it right here at frame 86. And we're going to move our camera to kind of follow the character right here. And I'm also going to zoom in on him a little bit, okay? Since we're going to focus really strongly on our character. So what that's going to do is that's going to create a keyframe in the camera track right here. So if I play back, there you go. It's zooming in and panning to the left at the same time. Hey everyone, check out this dance. Okay, now if I want that movement to be a little bit more natural looking, I can right click on the keyframe there and select transition curve, and I can use a nice smooth transition. This will be like an ease in and ease out. So you can see the camera kind of eases in and then eases out a little bit more. And you can mess around with all these on your own time. We can adjust the strength here a little bit if we want as well. There you go. So it's a lot stronger. We want to keep that a little bit less. Okay, and just use something like that. All right, cool. All right, now that's about it. That's all I really want to show you, and you have a quick animated tutorial in roughly 20 minutes here. So thanks everyone so much for watching. Hopefully you learned a lot as our guy finishes his dance here.
Hey everyone,
again, check out our forums
dance.
at forum.relusion.com, and I'll see you in the next video.